Everyone knows Kopa as Simba and Nala's first son in the Lion King book series, 6 new adventures. But when we look at the Lion King movies, we somehow don't see Kopa anywhere. Did you ever wonder what really happened to him? There have been lots of theories about who could be to blame for his disappearance, and mostly it's Zira. But wait, what if Kopa would have survived Zira's attacks? He could have led a completely different life, similar to what Simba once did, far away from the Pride Lands. But most importantly, who saved the young cub's life? Looking closely at The Lion King 2, the number of lionesses changes mysteriously, making me believe that one of them may have played a part in helping him survive. So what if Kopa was secretly adopted by one of these lionesses? To make his story clear, we must return to the time when Zira came close to taking his life. Kopa left the Pride Lands again to go play with his best friend Vitani. Even though his father was against their friendship, since she was an outsider, Kopa loved the feelings of adventure every time he came down to play with her and her brother Nuka. She also had a little brother Kovu, who was a newborn cub, but he was too young to come play with them, so he didn't really know him. But one day, Kopa's life instantly changes. In Zira's eyes, he will always be the son of her most hated enemy, Simba. She was a devoted follower of Scar and truly believed that Simba was the reason he died. When Zira found out that Simba displaced Scar from the throne, she attacked him, telling him that her son Kovu was the rightful king since Scar had chosen him as his heir. But Simba defeated her and banished her and her lionesses to the Outlands. From that day, she got even more angry and started plotting her revenge against Simba. And one of her plans included Kopa. She thought if Simba had killed the one she loved most, so could she. She created a plan and specifically waited for Kopa to come play with Vitani again. Finally, when she saw him coming, she sent Vitani and Nuka out to get her some food just before he arrived. When Kopa arrived, he was surprised that Vitani wasn't home. Kopa asked Zira where Vitani had gone. Zira told Kopa that she will take him to them. Kopa gladly accepted her offer, seeing no danger, and he followed Zira. But then something happened. The farther they went, the deeper they got into the dark parts of the Outlands. By the time Kopa realized that something was wrong, it was already too late. Zira's smile disappeared, and she became very angry in one moment. She screamed at Kopa, blaming him that his father had destroyed her life and made her lose her dear husband. So she was planning to make Simba lose the one he loved most, just as she had lost. The young cub was too scared. He tried to escape, but he was no match for the grown lioness. Zira angrily reached for Kopa with her claws, letting all of her anger out. When she believed he was dead, she picked up his bloodied body in her mouth and tried to hide it. Then she returned home. But Zira didn't know that someone was watching her. One of the lionesses in her pride had seen her suspiciously taking Kopa for a walk. Her name was Tazama, and she was one of Zira's closest allies. She didn't know much about the Pride Lands, but she was just subordinate when Scar became king after Mufasa's death. At night, Zira would stay up with her and tell her stories of the evil things she would do to Simba if she had the chance. Tazama didn't truly agree with Zira on everything, but she was too scared to say something. She knew everyone followed Zira. If someone abandoned her pride, there would be no place left for him. So deep down, she felt like one day she had to do that too, even though it didn't feel right for her. But when she saw Zira taking Kopa for a walk, she suspected something horrible, knowing how she hates Simba. She was terrified of watching as Zira beat up Kopa, but she wasn't brave enough to step in. After Zira left Kopa unconscious at the edge of the Outlands, she waited for a moment to be sure she had left, then stepped out from her hiding spot. Tazama realized that she had to move fast if she wanted to save his life. Kopa was weak, but she quickly lifted him onto her back and carried him away. After some time, they reached the jungle, where Tazama stopped to check his wounds. They were deep, but she believed he could survive. She looked at and cared for his wounds and brought him food. As time passed, Kopa woke up, and as his healing went successfully, Tazama started to find joy in life again. She no longer had to follow anyone's orders, and at last she could care for a cub just as she had always dreamed. Kopa lost many of his memories because of wounds, so he began to see Tazama as his mother, and he was truly happy in his new life. As time went on, Tazama trained Kopa everything to grow stronger, like hunting and how to fight. Her lessons came from years of experience with Zira and the others, and Kopa learned faster than she expected. Also, he mastered the ability to sense animals by scent on the air. But while Kopa enjoyed his happiness, trouble was rising back in the Pride Lands. Although Zira killed Kopa, it wasn't enough to finish her revenge. Because Kovu was the true heir to the throne, chosen by Scar himself. So she had to take back the kingdom, which for her must belong to Scar. In the meantime, Simba and Nala had 2 more cubs, Kiara and Kion. From the time Kovu was just a cub, Zira began training him to grow into someone who will kill Simba one day. After some time, Kovu had grown into an older lion, ready for Zira's plan. She ordered Nuka and Vaitani to set the grasslands on fire so Kovu could step in and save Kiara. And when Simba witnessed his bravery, he had no choice but to welcome Kovu into his pride, exactly as Zira had planned. But Rafiki felt that something wasn't right. Even though Mufasa had told him about the plan to unite Kovu and Kiara, he couldn't shake the uneasy feeling inside. He returned to his tree to study the old paintings, hoping the past would guide him. Then a strange wind rustled through the leaves of his tree. As he looked at an old painting of a cub, it suddenly came to him. It was Kopa, the long-lost prince. He was alive. Without wasting a moment, Rafiki grabbed his staff and leapt from his tree. Rafiki understood one thing. If the Pride Lands need to survive the battle ahead, they will need all the help they can get. He began his journey to find Kopa. He didn't have a plan, only the hope that somehow the spirits would guide him to Kopa. After some days of seeking, Rafiki failed to find him. Unluckily, he gave up and went back to the Pride Lands. He decided to take a rest in a tree. As Rafiki stood in his tree, he spotted some movement in the jungle, a lone lion walking through the bushes. But the most shocking thing was that the lion had Simba's golden fur, but he couldn't really see his face. This must be him, Rafiki thought. Rafiki leapt down from his tree and ran to Kopa's side. Kopa stared in surprise, not realizing yet who it was. He hadn't imagined that anyone from the Pride Lands would ever find him out here. But as soon as he heard Rafiki's crazy laughter, his forgotten memories slowly returned. "Rafiki?" Kopa asked, looking at him. "What are you doing here?" "Where did you miss?" Rafiki replied. Kopa told Rafiki everything that's happened to him, from Zira's attempt to kill him to how Tazama became his new mother, saving him and carrying him away. Rafiki was left in pain after everything he had heard. He could see the big pain in Kopa's eyes, and it would be difficult to ask him to return to the Pride Lands. He remembered how Simba left home for a long time and returned to save the kingdom when it was in danger. So he saw Kopa as their only help to defend the Pride Lands. Rafiki told him that Zira was still alive, and she was planning to attack his father, Simba. Kopa instantly realized his responsibility, and he had to do something. He knew that meeting Rafiki out there was not by chance. Kopa went back to Tazama and told her what Zira was planning. But Tazama felt sad. She was always afraid that this day to confront her would come. She had trained Kopa and taught him everything she could, but deep down, she feared it might not be enough. "I will go back with you. I cannot let you go alone," Tazama said. "Really? It's not necessary, but thank you. You're the best," Kopa replied. He knew he would need her help. "Maybe together, we will have a higher chance," Tazama said before the battle. Tazama was smart, strong, and keenest of sight. But when they got to the Pride Lands, Zira had already attacked Simba's pride. Kopa saw his father for the first time in many years, and he couldn't hold back his tears. Then, memories of what the evil Zira had done to him came flooding back. And that's when he saw it. Simba was battered, and Zira's pack was surrounding him. Kopa's fear kept growing. He didn't know what to do, but he quickly realized what he had to do. Simba was in big danger. "I'm going to help him. I'm not afraid of you anymore, Zira," Kopa said. He sounded like he was trying to gain confidence, but Tazama pushed him forward. "I trained you well, my dear. I'm sure you will be fine." Full of braveness, Kopa ran towards the battlefield to stop Zira. Zira raised her paw to slap Simba, but just before it reached him, Kopa jumped in between them. Everyone was in full shock. The unknown lion looked just like Simba. However, everybody started to recognize who that was, seeing his golden fur. Simba wouldn't believe it at first. He thought his long-lost son, Kopa, was dead. But Zira recognized him too and stepped back in shock. "Kopa? You're alive? But how?" she said in a quiet tone. Beyond her, Vitani was surprised that her mother, Zira, knew exactly who he was. "Unexpectedly, right, Zira? Looks like your plan to kill me failed," Kopa replied before pushing her back. Vitani couldn't believe the words she had just heard. "A plan to kill Kopa? Mother, what's going on? Is it true?" she asked Zira, hoping that it was all a mistake. "Vitani, forget about him! Now Kopa is our enemy too. I trained you to attack Simba and his pride," Zira ordered her. But just then, something sudden happened. Vitani, with tears in her eyes, in front of everyone, shockingly went over to Kopa's side. "What do you think you're doing, Vitani?" Zira angrily asked. But Vitani's decision was final. As she had lost Kopa once, she would not lose him again. Then, Kovu and Kiara also landed on the battlefield, facing their parents. Kiara tells Simba to call off the battle because there's no point in fighting because they are one. The wise Simba listened to Kiara, and the rest on the battlefield accepted peace. But Zira only got angrier. She jumped at Simba, but before Simba or Kiara could react, Vitani had blocked Mother's way. Further, Zira tried to jump on her daughter, but she caught her and pushed her into a flowing river, where she ended her circle of life. Kopa hugged Vitani, but then he asked her why she hit her own mother. "I always suspected that she was involved in your disappearance, and I couldn't hold back my anger," Vitani said. Vitani hugged Kopa stronger, with tears of joy running down her face. "I'm so happy that you confirmed my fears, and I never want to lose you again." Simba also wanted to see his son, but he didn't want to ruin this moment. "Kopa?" He managed to say it, but he was still looking for the words. Then Nala showed up. "How are you alive, Kopa? Where have you been? What happened to you?" The questions didn't have an end from his parents. He also remembered his real mother, Nala, and replied, "It's a long story, Mom. Better to go home? I'll explain everything there. But first, it's all thanks to Tazama. I wouldn't be here without her saving." Tazama watched from afar, choosing to let Kopa face this fight on his own. The lionesses were stunned to see her. None of them had ever known where she disappeared to. Simba invited all the lionesses from Zira's pride to live in the Pride Lands. Like Kiara had said, they were all one. At Pride Rock, Kopa finally told them his whole story. Everyone was literally frozen by the terrifying and unexpected things they had heard. How Zira had ambushed him and left him for dead, and how Tazama rescued him and took care of him in the jungle. Vitani began to feel responsible for what Zira had been causing all these years. After Kopa finished talking, Nala walked up to Tazama and hugged her. "Thank you for carrying my dear son," she whispered. "It's my honor. I love him," Tazama told her. Meanwhile, Zira's lionesses were watching from behind, all in shock but with great respect for what she had done. Kiara was surprised by his story. She never knew about her other brother's existence. She had spent her whole life training to become the next queen. But now that Kopa had returned, the throne rightfully belonged to him. "We have so much to tell you, Kopa," Simba said, but he has trouble with what to say first. Firstly, he told Kopa all about Kiara and Kion and all that had happened during his missing. Kion now had the roar of the elders and was the leader of the Lion Guard, but his sister Kiara had been training to be the queen of the kingdom one day. Kopa watched Kiara with pride. She looked so much like Nala, and he could tell from the few words he heard Kiara say to Simba that she was going to be a very wise queen. It seems like I missed too many events, and you very much needed me there. But there was something worrying Kopa. Kopa learned about his little brother Kion, but he couldn't see him anywhere. Oh no! Had Zira gotten to him too? Did she kill his brother just like she tried to kill him? So when everyone left, he went to Kiara to ask her about Kion. So I've been wondering, Dad said he had another cub named Kion. But all this time I've been here, I haven't seen him, and it's like no one dares to speak about him. Is he still alive? Kopa asked. Kiara still cannot believe that she had an elder brother all this time. Oh, Kion isn't in the Pride Lands now. He had a little trouble, so he traveled to the Tree of Life to solve it. I'm sure he will come home once he feels better, she replied. By the way, as you don't know Kion well, he is the strongest, and he would easily win against Zira if he were here. Kopa was relieved and a little bit shocked. His brother was still alive. But the bigger surprise is her words about his power, that Kopa now wants to meet him more. Something was happening outside. Something shocking. During Kion's miss, Simba placed his trust in Vitani to build a new lion guard. She was the sister of the one destined to rule after him. Vitani immediately knew who she wanted to ask. After seeing Kopa's courage during the fight between Zira and Simba, she was sure he was the perfect choice. But to her surprise, Kopa turned down the offer. I've only just returned. I don't know my real mission in the Pride Lands well enough yet. I will only bring trouble to your guard. But I know there is someone who can help though. The one who taught me everything. Ask Tazama. She's the bravest lion I know. Vitani actually really liked that idea, so she went on to ask Tazama. It was an honor for her to do such a good mission for the Pride Lands, so she joined Vitani's guard. Then they gathered the rest of the members, and soon the new protectors of the Pride Lands could get to work. But after some time, Kion and his group suddenly arrived back from the Tree of Life. But they didn't know yet that Simba had already appointed Vitani and her team as the new protectors of the Pride Lands while they were away. So when Vitani and her group saw Kion and his lion guard returning from the Outlands, she was ready to attack. It looked suspicious. He carried an evil-looking scar and many outsiders surrounded him. Zazu witnessed this chaos and rushed to bring Kiara for help. As soon as Kopa found out about this, he immediately went with Kiara, racing toward the Outlands border. When they arrived, Kion was about to attack Vitani with his roar, but Kiara stopped him just in time. She explained that a lot happened while he was away, and Zira had completed her journey in the Circle of Life. Now, with Zira gone, Vitani and the other lionesses had joined Simba's pride. Because Vitani was the sister of the future king, Simba had trusted her and her group to defend the Pride Lands in Kion's absence. When Kion returned, he was shocked to see Kovu standing next to Kiara. But then, he noticed somebody's figure beyond. Another strange lion he had never seen before. Kiara, what about him? Who is this lion? He asked Kiara in a serious tone. You're not going to believe it, but that's our elder brother, Kiara replied. Zira nearly took his life before we were even born, so he stayed hidden for years, far from the Pride Lands. He's just come back home. Looks like you've got a lot to catch up on, Kion, she said. Wow, that's unbunga-believable. Bunga screamed as always before Kion could even react. Even Kion was frozen in shock, speechless at the secret he had never imagined. Next, he walked up to Kion and hugged him. I'm proud to be your brother. Kiara told me about your achievements, Kopa said. Kion didn't know how to react, but he was happy. He finally got the brother he always dreamed of, and he still has a lot of questions and plans to talk with him. As they all walked back to Pride Rock, Vitani, with a trick smile, tapped Kopa lightly. As they spent more time together, they soon realized they could be more than friends. Also together, Kopa, Kiara, and Kion shared their stories. Everything they had been through and the lessons they had gained along the way. Kion knew soon he would have to go back to the Tree of Life to help the Night Pride. But before that, he wanted to learn more about his brother and catch up on the time they had lost. Kopa took Vitani and his sister to hunting, which helped them both become better leaders. Kiara, I need you to understand, I don't want the throne. That was never my goal, Kopa said. You've known the Pride Lands all your life. No one knows the kingdom better than you do. I won't take that from you. You deserve to be queen. Relief washed over Kiara as she looked at her brother. She thanked him, saying she was happy to have his support, because she knew she couldn't rule alone. Everyone was happy, and the Pride Lands became peaceful once again. No more enemies anymore, and no more danger. Kopa and Vitani finally reunite again, and whatever future will bring them, they will be always together. And Kion, he had brother he couldn't dream of,